Good evening, universe. Tonight I'm going to be doing the end of year book tag. I saw this going around on a couple of different booktube channels, so I wanted to do it for myself here. Question 1, are there any books you started this year that you still need to finish? And by that, I think they mean like anything that you picked up and then put down, not like what you're currently reading, I would assume. So that's how I'm going to interpret it. And something that I picked up and then put down would be The Dawn of Yang Chen by F.C. Yi. This is another Avatar Chronicles book. So just like the Rise of Kyoshi and the Shadow of Kyoshi. I always say the Fall of Kyoshi, but that's not correct. It's the Shadow of Kyoshi. So this takes place in the same universe, same kind of style as both of those, but this follows a different Avatar incarnation, specifically Yang Chen, who is an air nomad. She's born into that part of the Avatar cycle, and this actually comes before the Kyoshi duology. So I was super excited to pick this up, but then when I started reading it, I felt like I was kind of having a little bit of a reading slump encroaching upon me, so I decided to put it down and pick up some other stuff for a little bit, but I'm still really excited to get back to it, and I would like to finish it before the end of the year, so I'm definitely going to say that one. And then also, I don't think I started it this year. I'm pretty sure I started it last year, but I would like to read Gilded soon because and that's by Marissa Meyer, the sequel is coming out and I want to read that too. That was another one that I picked up and then I just kind of wasn't feeling it. And so I put it down, but I would like to definitely give it another shot because I have loved so many of her books so far, and I think I'll love this one as well once I am able to get into it. For some reason, it just wasn't working for me at the time, but I think I'm really gonna like it once I dive in properly. Book 2 is Do You Have an Autumnal Book to Transition into the End of the Year? And for this, I actually just read An Enchantment of Ravens, which I definitely feel is a very autumnal, transitionary type of book, and that's by Margaret Rogerson. And I'm also reading her other book, A Sorcery of Thorns, and I think she has one more, but I don't know anything about that one. So I'm reading Sorcery of Thorns, and it definitely has like a wintry, autumnal sort of sense to it, just like An Enchantment of Ravens did. So I'm really enjoying that. I think both of those really work for autumnal type books. I also want to get to Gilded, which takes place in a really like snowy environment. So that to me feels more like wintry, but it also has a lot of spooky, empty castle vibes. So I think it kind of works for autumn as well. So maybe I'll read that next as my kind of transition into the cooler season type of book. Question 3 is there still a new release that I am waiting for? And the answer to that is yes. I am waiting for volume 10. Is it 10? Yes, I'm waiting for volume 10 of Witch Hat Atelier by Kamome Shirahame. I am absolutely loving this series, and it always leaves off on kind of a cliffhanger at the end of each volume. Volume 9 was no exception, so I am so excited for book 10, and I think it comes out really soon, in just like the next week or so, if I have it right. I think it comes out November 2nd, I think. Could be wrong about that, but I think it comes out in November 2nd, so very soon. And then I'm also waiting on Bloodmarked, which is the sequel to Legendborn by Tracy Deonn, and this would also be a great fall transitionary book because it's very like dark academia, but with like demons, and it's really a wonderful book if you haven't heard about it so far. It's got demon hunting, it's got King Arthur, it's got a lot of amazing representation. It's just a wonderful book. I enjoyed the first one so much, and I am so excited for the sequel. And the last thing that I'm waiting on, I am excited about, but it's not coming out this year. It was originally going to come out this year, and then it got pushed back. So I count it as something that I'm still waiting on. And that is Chain of Thorns by Cassandra Clare. It is coming out at, I think, the end of January of next year. So not that long now, just about 3 months. I can't wait. I'm so excited for the conclusion to that trilogy. I think it's going to be my favorite Shadowhunters trilogy so far. Question 4 is, what are 3 books you want to read by the end of the year? and I'm going to try to avoid books that I already mentioned in this video. So I'm planning to read Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. I currently have it checked out from the library. I read and really loved his Mistborn Era 1 series earlier this year, so I definitely want to dive into more of his books. I wanted to check out a standalone, see how it holds up to the series. I tend to like series better, but I'm interested in it, and it is huge. It's like 650 pages, and the pages are not small. So I'm excited to check that out. I really do not know what it's about. I'm pretty sure it's a high fantasy, and I think it has magic that has to do with color, maybe, is the idea. I'm not sure. I remember reading the synopsis and being excited about it, but I do not remember what the summary actually is now. But I'm still excited about it, so I'm probably going to read that in November. I also want to read The Girl Who Fell Beneath Fairyland and Led the Revels There by Catherine Valente. This is book 2 in her Fairyland series, and it follows a little girl named September who goes to Fairyland and goes on all sorts of adventures. So in book 1, she had like one specific adventure, and now in book 2, she's going to be doing a different kind of adventure. And I absolutely loved the first book in this series. The writing style is so fun and fresh and nice, and I loved a lot of the characters, the characterization, the world. So I'm excited to pick this up again. And I say again because I have tried reading this twice and I just haven't gotten very far. For some reason, I just haven't been able to stick with it, and I'm not really sure why. Because whenever I'm actively reading it, I'm really enjoying it. But then when I set it down, I get like weirdly intimidated by it, and then I don't pick it up again. So I don't know what that's about, but I would like to finish that book this year as well. And I like to read fairly light stuff in December. I like to keep it a little bit fluffier, but all of my reading tastes tend to go darker, so that's a little bit difficult to reconcile. But I'll probably be reading a little bit more of my Sailor Moon collection for the end of the year, just because that's a very like nostalgic, comforting sort of series for me, even though it's different than the TV series that I grew up with. So I'm going to say Sailor Moon Volume 2 is probably going to be the third book for the 3 books that I'm planning to read before the end of the year. Question 5 is there a book you think could still shock you and be your favorite book for the year? And this is kind of a weird question for me because I feel like everything I pick up, I'm hopeful and optimistic for, like maybe this will be a new favorite for me. So right now I'm really enjoying Sorcery of Thorns, so I definitely think it is a contender to be a favorite for the year. I will say that I've read a lot of really good books this year, so it's going to be hard to unseat those. But I'm hopeful. I'm hoping that something I read will really blow me away. I'm hoping for Warbreaker to be incredible. I'm hoping for Sorcery of Thorns to be amazing. And also all those other books I just listed for that I'm planning to read before the end of the year. Any of those, I think, could be a favorite. And finally, question 6 is, have you already started making plans for reading plans specifically for next year? And the answer to that is yes. I like to make plans for what I'm going to read months and months in advance. I make these little lists of like, this is what I'm going to read in this month, and then this is what I'll read in this month. But a lot of that changes a lot when I actually start reading. I am very much a mood reader, and even though I have kind of a large physical TBR, I also love picking things up from the library, so a lot of what I'm reading is dependent on what I can get from the library, as well as like how popular that thing is, because if it's very popular, then I have less time to make sure that I read it within a certain 3 weeks. So the answer is technically yes. I do have plans for what I'm going to be reading next year, but really it doesn't matter because I'm going to switch it up as soon as I hit that actual month anyway. I am kind of in a reading slump right now, but I am still excited to have books to read, so I'm hoping that this is me kind of pulling out of it. I know some of it is that a lot of my energy is used up on things like school right now, just because I kind of took on a little bit of an intense course load, and I've been way more focused on that. And then a lot of times when I'm done with my school for the day, I just kind of want to play video games and take it easy. Not that reading isn't taking it easy, but taking it, not engaging the reading part of my brain, essentially. But there's still a ton of books that I'm really excited to be reading, so I'm hoping that I don't fall into a full slump and end up reading nothing. I'm hoping that's not the direction that it's going. Instead, I'm feeling like my Margaret Rogerson books are kind of pulling me back out of it and getting me really excited about reading again. And that was the end of year book tag. That was all of the questions. So thank you so much for hanging out with me. Let me know your answers to the questions down below. And most importantly, have a great night, universe.